How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line, our season finale, unfortunately, but don't worry, we'll be back. As always, I'm Sergio Cano. To my right is Matt Intrican. To my left is Brian Kilman. Today we have an exciting episode for you guys. We have Denver 7 sports anchor Troy Renck. Matt, what do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, Troy Renck's got a long history in the reporting game. We covered baseball and the Rockies for a long time with the Denver Post, and now he's working with Denver 7 News. We got him online today to answer a few questions for us. Troy, thanks for being on. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Great to be on the show with you guys.
All right, we're gonna start off with a hot topic of the week for the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock made his first start on Sunday, had a good showing. Do you think he is the quarterback of the future for the Denver Broncos?
He is talented enough, Matt, to be that guy. I think they finally made the right decision by giving him an opportunity to play. I mean, the charade of the idea they're a contender is silly. They're not contending. At 4-8 and at 3-8 before he started, you need to play the kid. I call it December call-ups, just like you have September call-ups in baseball. Let him play these 4 or 5 games, see where you're at. It's going to be messy. It's going to be probably more, paint figures than it is Picasso. That's okay. It's good. You need to find that out to microwave his development and see if he's the guy, because you're going to draft somewhere but probably 7th and 11th. And if he's the guy, then you don't get a quarterback. You try to get Jerry Jeudy. You try to get Andrew Thomas. You try to get a cornerback. So I've seen enough from talent and confidence that makes me think he can be the guy. I would like them to tweak the system, Matt, more around his skill set, and that's what I'm watching over this final month. But it was an encouraging debut, but that's all it was, one game. We'll see where it goes, but they're finally going in the right direction by playing the kid.
All right, so along those lines, just got Drew Lock this past offseason. What do you think big roster changes the Broncos are going to make this upcoming offseason, especially regarding players like Garrett Bowles, Chris Harris, and Derek Wolfe?
Yeah, you guys watch their offense. Don't you think they should be making changes? They average 15.5 points a game. I mean, they struggle to score. They're the worst team in football from the second quarter on. So there's going to be changes on the offensive side of the ball. Garrett Bowles, I would guess, as we sit here today, this will be his last year with the Broncos. They're certainly not going to pick up his 5th-year option. But they could face a situation where they need a new right guard, a new left tackle, possibly even a center. So you could see massive changes on the offensive line. They absolutely need to add a number 2 receiver to Cortland Sutton. I'm more bullish on Noah Fant than most, but they need to add a second threat at receiver. Deshaun Hamilton hasn't worked out. Tim Patrick's a nice piece. He's not a number 2. On the other side of the ball, you asked about, between Chris Harris, Justin Simmons, and Derek Wolfe, my guess is 2 of the 3 return. Wolfe wants to retire a Bronco. Maybe they can get him on a team-friendly deal to finish his career here. Chris Harris has won $15 million in the offseason. I don't know if he'll get that. He certainly won't get it here. I hope Chris stays. He's a great fit in the Fangio defense. And Justin Simmons has had a Pro Bowl year. He's going to command $9 to $10 million a year. So you can start seeing, even with $65, $70 million in cap space, they're going to have to make some tough decisions. So I would think 2 of those 3 would be back. Bryce Callahan should be back healthy, but they could be in the market for a corner. That could be a big ticket item if they don't find that in the draft.
Wow. Well, thank you, Troy, for all that information. Thank you for taking time out of your day and doing this with us. It's honestly an honor. Do you think in your opinion, do you think it's time to move away from Elway and his operations, or do you think he's got something in his pocket, to kind of resurgence the Broncos again?
Yeah, it's been a tough stretch since Peyton Manning retired, as you guys know. They're on their 7th quarterback since Manning retired. That tells you the problems they've had. I mean, they've become the Cleveland Browns in some ways. You can't win in this league without stability at that position. That's why it's important to find out if Drew Lock's the guy. In the case of Elway, he's got 2 years left on his deal. He wants to win now. That's what's complicated this. They're basically a rebuilding team trying to win now. But if they get Lock in place and you see this defense that's made progress under Fangio, then maybe next year you go to 8-8, 9-7, and then that final year of Elway, you're back in the playoffs. But there is a chance, with Elway, we'll see. He's only got 2 years left on his deal. He wants to win now. Can that fit with this, proposition of trying to rebuild at the same time? But, Elway's got 2 more years to figure it out. His legacy is never going to change in Denver. I mean, he's the Babe Ruth of the Colorado sports scene. But as an executive, it'd be a tough way to go out with 5 straight years without the playoffs.
All right. And then what do you think is the biggest thing that the Broncos need to focus for in the upcoming draft?
Yeah, again, some of it is linked to Drew Lock. If he's the guy and you see enough to believe he's the guy and you don't get crazy and chase a free agent like, there's speculation Tom Brady could be on play, that would surprise me only because of his age. I mean, I love Tom Brady as much as the next guy, but if they don't chase a free agent like Tom Brady or Teddy Bridgewater, do they go after Justin Herbert in the draft? Do they go to a Tua who's going to fall probably to the middle of the first round? I don't think right now, based on my sources, they're not in on a quarterback. They would be in on a receiver like Jerry Jeudy. They'd be on a left tackle like Andrew Thomas from Georgia. You'd have to move up to get him. Again, the best case scenario, as crazy as it sounds, guys, is for them to play well these last 4 games and probably lose them all, because that would get you to a better draft spot. If you win them out, or say you win 3 of the 4 and you go 7-9, you're going to be drafting around 18, 19, 20. So if you want to get a real impact start day one guy, you're probably going to have to move up. Now, they have a bunch of picks in the upcoming draft, but as of right now, quarterback isn't number one priority. But that could change in a month, and that would change the complexion of it. But right now, they're looking more at receiver, cornerback, left tackle.
Speaking of tackles, in your perspective, what is going on with the Juwan James situation? Does he not want to play? Is there something that we just don't know about that's wrong with him?
Well, he was more hurt than originally I think people understood. He tore his MCL at Oakland that night in the opener. When I talked to him about it, I thought it was because they played on the infield. Maddie knows this from playing baseball. That you play on the infield and then you're going to grass, so I thought that was the issue. He said that actually saved his knee from probably tearing his ACL. But he said to me, that strained MCL bothered him more than he thought. He didn't have a lot of confidence, Matt, when he came back for that game against the Colts. He lasted, 22 snaps, and then he was out again. There's hope that he will play this week and start, but he got challenged by his coach in a real way when they said he's been cleared physically, but mentally and emotionally he's not ready. And if you've been around the NFL at all, that's an indictment of him. This is a tough guy sport. Everyone's playing hurt this time of year. So what's going on with him? It really comes down to he's strained the MCL on his knee, and he doesn't trust it. At some point, he's got to get over that mental hurdle of trusting it, because they made him the second highest paid right tackle in the history of the NFL. They need him out there, even if it's for the last 4 games, to see where they are, because they already have enough issues at left tackle, right guard, and center going forward. They need to know that this guy can get on the field and play.
Right.
So, Troy, shifting topics from the Broncos from an NFL standpoint, who is your Super Bowl predictions? We've seen the Patriots fall a little bit in recent weeks. Ravens are a hot pick. Who do you think is going to make it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that the Patriots can beat the Ravens this year because of the fact they're probably going to have to go to Baltimore. I thought originally the Ravens would come to Baltimore, and I would give, to Foxborough, and Tom Brady at home's records like 120-2. Like, he's amazing there. They're hard to beat there, and Belichick would be seeing Lamar Jackson for a second time. But now it looks like they're going to have to go to Baltimore. And I don't know that they have enough offensively without Gronkowski to win on the road like they did last year in Kansas City. So right now, for me, the Ravens are the clear favorite to get in. And I think Seattle in the NFC, between Seattle, San Francisco, and New Orleans, for me, Seattle, because of Russell Wilson, the way he's able to play in the clutch, the way they're able to win both with the run game and the pass game, they're just good enough defensively with Clowney to get a pass rush with Frank Clark. I think they're looking at, right now, for me, the matchup would be Ravens-Seahawks. Ravens would be the slight favorite in that game. But Patriots, who knows? You just don't know because they're chameleons. They reinvent themselves. If they signed Antonio Brown, the last 2 weeks of the season, I would say they could beat the Ravens. But right now, offensively, for me, the Patriots don't have enough firepower to win on the road at Baltimore.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Troy, for being on with us today. It was a great honor. I hope you have a great rest of your year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely, guys. Have a great show. Wish you nothing but success.
Sweet. My high salute.
Big thanks to Troy Renck for being on the show with us today. He's been in the game for a long time. Tremendous reporter, tremendous person. It was great to have him on.
Sweet. Well, yeah, that was very interesting, to have some insider information, talk about our, favorite teams here. or some of our favorite teams. So let's jump into a regular episode. Let's talk about some topics here. Fellas, you guys heard about what happened with Tim Ryan. Made some pretty terrible comments about Lamar Jackson's skin in regards to the football. The 49ers has suspended the broadcaster for the upcoming game. Do you guys think he got let off easy, or is that fitting? Brian, what do you think?
I think a one-game suspension is fitting. He should not be fired. There's a lot of people talking. They say he should be fired for that comment. Radio broadcasters, everyone says something stupid at some point, and that was stupid. It was also insensitive. But I don't think that he should be fired for what he did or anything else should happen. I think the suspension, as well as just how society has reacted and what he's seen from that, he can avoid those comments in the future. And I don't think he did that on purpose. I don't think that he was trying to have a malicious intent with that comment.
Right.
Yeah, I think Tim Ryan absolutely got a good deal, especially in this day and age when people get a lot of trouble for saying stupid things. And the comment was foolish, poorly selected. And, I think who knows why he said what he said. Maybe he was just trying to be funny. Maybe he was just trying to have a fresh take. But at the end of the day, we don't know what was in his heart. We don't know what was going through his mind. And there's a lot of people out there who are trying to judge Ryan based on one comment that he made when, I think the great majority of people have never listened to a single word that Ryan has ever said in the past. He's a 49ers radio broadcaster. I'm sure the only people who listen to him are 49ers fans. Mm-hmm. And so we're calling this guy racist based on one line that he said, and, it wasn't even an insult, really. I mean, it was a stupid thing to say about an African-American quarterback. But, who knows why he said what he said. I think a day off is not the worst thing to ever happen to a broadcaster. I think it's fitting. It's fine. Tim Ryan's apology was pretty lackluster. Not the best. Could have seemed a little more remorseful, but
yeah. What makes me believe that the one-game suspension is sufficient is how the 49ers players came out and spoke about him. Richard Sherman came out and he said he likes Tim Ryan, he trusts him, he's a good guy. And when these players from the team who are more familiar with Ryan than any of us are, like you mentioned, a lot of people, 99% of people in this country have probably never listened to his radio broadcast. But the people within the 49ers organization know him better, and for them to back him up, that makes me believe he has good character, as well as it was just a slip, and that is not the person that he is.
Yeah, we all have mental slips.
Right.
And if Ryan is anything like any other sports commentator, sports analyst in America, he's probably just as in awe of Lamar Jackson's talent and performance as everybody else. We all praise Lamar Jackson, and I'm sure Tim Ryan feels the same way too. If I could listen to a radio broadcast, I would. I don't know how to have that access, but we're being too presumptuous as a nation, assuming that Ryan is this terrible guy for just maybe something that could have just been a mental slip.
Right. Yeah, I think, sometimes when you're kind of in the limelight in that aspect, talking and you're constantly, on autopilot saying things, it might have just slipped out. And when he said it, he was probably like, oh, crap, you know what? I should not have said that. It's something that he obviously wants to forget. And it's going to leave a bad taste in his mouth for a while. But like you guys said, I think you guys made a really good point. Well, that being said, let's shift to the NBA. Currently, ESPN ranks the Milwaukee Bucks number 1 in the power rankings, ahead of the Los Angeles Lakers. Are they the best team in the NBA? Right now, they're 19-3, first in the East. They have a big game against the Clippers tonight, which should be interesting. They've won 13 straight and have outscored opponents by 24 points. That being said, they have a great bench. Lakers are also 19-3 in the Western Conference, and they picked up some impressive road victories against the Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets, which, if you guys know, it's really hard, to win in those areas. Are they the best team in the NBA? Second best? Who do you guys got? Matt?
Well, I got the LA Lakers. both these teams are elite. Both these teams are very similarly dominant, both 19-3. Both have shown that they are great teams and can make runs in the playoffs. But I think it comes down to a couple things. And it's worth noting that both these teams are first and second in field goal percentage. The Bucks ahead by just 1/10 of a point. But I think I have to give the edge to the LA Lakers for two reasons. Namely, the LeBron effect. The greatest player in the world, in my opinion. And though on the Bucks you got the former MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think LeBron James and what he's done over the years, he's been there, done that, won titles. Giannis is yet to do that. I think the LeBron effect is something that can't be understated. Number two, AD Anthony Davis, an elite scorer, an elite defender, somebody who could be a future MVP. And then I think when you have a team like the LA Lakers who's got two MVP-type players on their roster, good complementary players like Dwight Howard, I think he's coming along great. I think Rajon Rondo is a great complement to all those players. Maybe Milwaukee is a little bit deeper. They've got a true point guard and Drew Bledsoe, but I think that the LeBron effect and Anthony Davis are two players who just mean everything to the LA Lakers. If they stay healthy, I think they have the edge over the Bucks.
First thing I like to say is happy birthday, my man Giannis. Today's his birthday, 25.
Happy birthday.
You know? And that is the best team in the NBA. Giannis's Milwaukee Bucks. Best in the league in margin of victory. Second in both offensive and defensive ratings. First in effective field goal percentage, which is an underrated statistic in today's NBA. And Giannis is averaging 35.2 points per 36 minutes. And like you mentioned, the Bucks have a deeper bench, and I think when it comes down to it, that is what is going to make a better basketball team. Because one, LeBron is getting older, more injury prone than he used to be. Still, probably the best player in the NBA. But when you're relying on LeBron and Anthony Davis, you have a lot of cracks in your team. There are some supporting players there that I think are improving. Alex Caruso is having one of his best seasons he's ever had. And two, Antetokounmpo's is better than one. The Bucks have two. The Lakers only have one. And I think that might be the deciding factor.
Well, speaking of Antetokounmpo's birthday, I think he should wish to be a better free throw shooter because he's currently at 56% on the season.
Ouch.
And I think you make some great points that I think the Lakers right now are the best team, but they are very vulnerable right now. And I think that the age and LeBron, if he goes down, obviously they're going to fall. You know, so when you're relying on two pieces like that, obviously you have a lot of risk and a lot is at stake, aside from the Bucks, who I think have a little bit more leeway if they lose somebody to injury. But I think that right now the Lakers are the best team in the NBA.
I think when it comes down to it, when you have a team that's so heavily focused on LeBron and Anthony Davis, if you get a team that can cover those guys and play defense, whether they figure out two guys who can guard LeBron, or you have an elite defender like Kawhi who can guard, or Paul George for that matter, both on the Clippers, I think that if you stop those players for the Lakers, those two, then the team's a lot more weak. While if you stop Giannis, there's a lot of other guys on that team that can pick it up.
Well, let me tell you something, Brian. Defenders who can cover people like AD and LeBron aren't just growing on trees, okay? We know LeBron has been one of the top three players in the NBA, if not just the best player in the NBA for the better part of the last 2 decades. And he is still doing, he's still averaging a double-double.
Indeed.
At his age. And, you know, he has not been hurt a lot in his career, okay? Nope. And last year was unfortunate for LeBron. It would be a shame if it happened again this year. My instinct is that it hopes. I don't think it will, knock on wood, but we'll see what happens.
Right. Do you guys think this is a potential finals matchup, Bucks, Lakers? And if so, who would win? If the finals started today, right now,
right
they
now,
played, who would win between those two?
Oh, I'd look like a liar if I didn't say the Lakers. I'm going to say the Lakers. If it started right now. Who knows what's going to happen? It's still early.
Very.
It is still early. I think the Mavs have a chance to beat the Lakers in a 7-game series, personally. Mavs and then Clippers, I think, are the top or the next two contenders in the West. I'm not going to say the Lakers wouldn't make the finals right now. In the East, I said the Bucks are the best team, but last year we saw they couldn't play in the playoffs. They were a little too young, I think. Didn't show up in the playoffs, especially Giannis. I think in the East, the Celtics are my favorite right now.
Cool. Well, okay. Well, let's talk about some college football. Utah and Oklahoma. Who's making the college football playoffs? Utah right now is ranked number 5. They play tonight against Oregon, which is going to be an interesting game. Oklahoma ranks number 6, also 11-1, and they play Baylor at home tomorrow. Who has the most pressure, Brian?
I think the team that has the most pressure is Oklahoma, actually. I think Utah will be a stretch, a big stretch to make it into the playoff because they need to have a lot of things to happen to make it. First, they need LSU to beat Georgia, which I think would happen. If Georgia beats LSU, I think the standings stay exactly how they are right now. LSU still makes it, Georgia still makes it, because it's hard for me to say that LSU is not one of the top 4 teams if they lose to Georgia, who is probably also a top 4 team. But assuming LSU beats Georgia, Georgia's out, clearly, and Oklahoma and Baylor play each other. Both teams with 1 loss, both play in a strong conference, much stronger than the Pac-12, it appears. It'd be hard for me to say that Utah can make it over Baylor or Oklahoma, whoever wins that conference championship game. My dark horse, I'll tell you, Wisconsin. If they beat Ohio State and win the Big Ten, they had a close loss to Illinois. They should not have lost that game, and they lost to Ohio State. So if they can beat Ohio State, I think the committee would like to see that Wisconsin team have some fun in the playoff.
I hear you, Brian. I think, though, Wisconsin would need a pretty decisive win against Ohio State, and I just don't think that that team is capable of doing that to Ohio State Buckeyes. But listen to me, I think that you're right. Oklahoma certainly has the most to prove and perhaps the lowest chance, but I think, obviously, if Georgia loses to LSU, they still have a shot, especially if it's a close game. In fact, it probably needs to be a close game. But if Georgia and Clemson loses either or, and Utah and Oklahoma both have decisive victories, then I think both those teams have a better chance. But see, the really big thing that's hurting Utah is they currently have no wins against top 25 teams. Okay, and so if they win tonight, they have Oregon. That's still not a lot of stock, but I think the committee recognizes that Utah has been the most consistent. They've consistently shown that they've been dominant over the teams that they have played. Oklahoma, though, already has 2 top 25 wins. They've got quality wins, but it will be tough. They'll have to dominate Baylor. It will be tough to convince the committee to overlook the Kansas State loss, among other close losses against teams like TCU, for them to get in. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to have the game of his life
Right.
for them to make it.
Yeah, talking about college sports, we're going to do a little transition here. We're going to hit our Fail Mary today.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Abilene Christian had a fan come on and had an attempt at a half-court shot. He missed a little, almost hit a woman in the stands. So let's take a look at that.
Good afternoon, Colorado Mesa University, and welcome to another segment of Fail Mary. We all love halftime entertainment, especially when a fan gets a chance to win big money by taking a shot from half court and trying to get it in. However, such was not the case when a fan was selected in an Abilene Christian basketball game to make that half court shot. His shot may have been a little bit off. He launched the ball into the stands and nearly hit a fan. Today, me, Brian, and Sergio, half court shot masters, are going to show you how he could have done it right. First up, we have the reverse granny. Next, the look mom, no hands. The between the legs reverse granny. The shot put. The Misty May trainer. This one is the supine chuck. The windy windup. The no-look pass. The Hulk smash. The punt. Granny style. The shot heard round the world. The field goal kick. The single leg punt. The globetrotter. The orange Julius, because that was smooth. The Simone Biles. The header. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you perfectly execute a half-court shot. Thanks for watching. From all of us here at Crossing the Line, remember, keep failing so we can show you how to succeed.
Wow, well, that was very.
That was a funny one.
That was a funny one. That was really good, guys. Excellent job.
A lot of fun.
So that concludes our last episode for this semester. Don't worry, we'll be back, and we're gonna end it with our, usual shout outs. So I'll go first. Shout out Carmelo Anthony for making a great comeback. Still one of my favorite players ever. Won Western Conference Player of the Year, 22.3 points and 7.7 rebounds, and helped the Blazers win 4 of the last 5. So hats off to you, Melo. Keep doing your thing, fellas.
My shout out goes to Roger Federer for apparently being famous enough in Swiss history to officially have his face be put on their currency. Roger Federer is now worth 20 francs.
20 francs.
20 francs. Beat francs.
His net worth's a lot more than that, I would guess.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Probably a few hundred million more.
Yeah, at least. My shout out's going to go to my man, Bill Walton. He is officially the best color commentator in sports. This summer we got to see him, Lucas Giolito struck out the side in a game that the White Sox were playing, and Bill Walton said, "What's the record for most strikeouts in an inning?" And then this weekend we got to see him at the Maui Gym Invitational for college basketball, and that was entertaining as well to hear him call those games. He should be at every sports game possible.
Oh, he's a classic announcer.
Too funny.
Well, bittersweet, fellas. Gonna miss you guys for a little bit, but we'll be back next season. Just hang on there, and just hope you guys have a great Christmas, happy holidays, and Merry Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas. See you next
See you
decade.
later Yep. See you next decade. Nice.